Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Esselamu aleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. I am Yunus Emre Pehlivan, and you are watching Let's Think Together. It is the 27th night of Ramadan. It is highly likely that today is the Laylatul Qadr. So I wish you a blessed night of Qadr. In our weekly series, we are discussing different episodes and texts from the Risale-i Nur, written by Imam Bediüzzaman Said Nursi. Last week, we talked about the baselessness of disbelief. We discussed how atheism and its various branches are removed from logic and good sense. We discussed two ways of disbelief. First, natural causes brought things into existence. And the second, existing beings take on their forms of their own accord. Our guests last week explained the impossibilities of these two ways with different examples. In today's program, we'll talk about the third way of disbelief. That is, nature entails it and nature creates it. In other words, it is an entirely natural affair, and nature necessitates it and brings beings into existence. Imam Said Nursi says there are scores of impossibilities involved in this claim. Joining us today, Yusuf Kara from Malaysia. He's the manager of NRTC, Nursi Research and Training Center at the International Islamic University of Malaysia. Welcome, Brother Yusuf.
Thank you.
And Fettah Kran from the US. He's a PhD candidate. Brother Fettah, welcome.
You're very welcome.
And Gazi Ademoğlu here in Turkey. He's a freelancer. Welcome, Brother Gazi.
Thanks very much.
Today, I would like to start with Brother Yusuf. Can you please tell us what is impossible about this third way of disbelief?
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Yunus Emre. And I also wish a blessed Ramadan and a blessed night to all of our brothers and sisters who are watching. And yes, Alhamdulillah, it has been very nice to discuss about the faith, about belief in Allah versus atheism during this blessed nights and days of Ramadan. Of course, today's topic is as you have just mentioned, continuation of the last week. And today's is the third impossibility, the third way that is impossible in terms of the creation of the universe that Bediüzzaman Said Nursi is putting forward within his epistle on nature. So this is iqtadat al-tabi'ah. It means the nature necessitates it or entails it. So one of the arguments of the non-believers when their arguments are generalized and classified, Bediüzzaman said there are three main routes, ideas and ways of non-belief. And the third one, he says, is the nature. They believe that nature is entailing it, nature is necessitating it. So when we look at the nature, there are certain system, there is a certain force and power or mechanism, etc. According to the non-believers, and they say the nature is creating it, nature is doing it. But Bediüzzaman Said Nursi again in this episode is discussing in detail how irrational and impossible it is for the nature to be the creator of itself and of the entire universe. And he says in the first impossibility, he says that we can see in the universe that there are activities running in the universe in a seeing and wise manner, right? So it is as if that whoever is running this universe sees all parts of the universe, sees every particle and cell in the universe, right? Mm-hmm. Controls them in a wise manner, right? He is very wise, and he is very, seeing everything. He is powerful over everything. He knows everything in the universe, and thus he can manage and he can run everything in the universe. This is what it is supposed to be, because we see that the whole universe is connected to each other. It's one entire body, right? We can see, for example, the atom the form of the atom is in such a way that when we look at the stars, when we look at the the galaxies, how their forms are, etc., we can see even the same art, the same shape is going, the same route of evolving, around each other, between each other. So is actually the same way, so, and it is also again the same form of atom that is in the universe, that is in here, and everything is connected to each other. For a tree to exist on the earth, the galaxies should be in order. Otherwise, it cannot continue, its existence. So for again, any human being to live peacefully, in a healthy way in this world, the sun should be the way it is right now. Otherwise, the whole system would be corrupt and would go into a non-existence and would be destroyed. But when we look at the universe, the nature itself, we don't see actually that knowledge, that consciousness, that power, that wisdom. We don't see that. It doesn't see us. It doesn't hear us, right? Because it is not, aware of each other, right? One atom in the universe doesn't know another atom, or doesn't control, doesn't see, right? Doesn't act over it. But still, and Beli said, if you want to give, attribute or refer the creation to the nature itself, then the nature should have machines, right? Literally machines in everything in order to, construct it, right? And then, or otherwise, it should have in everything a great power, a great wisdom, again, in order to run itself and to be connected to the rest of the universe, to be informed and aware about the rest of the universe, and to work hand in hand with the rest of the universe. It should have a huge, a colossal, a universal knowledge, a universal power, a universal wisdom, etc. But this is impossible, right? This is impossible. And then he further gives one more analogy in the first impossibility. He says, when we look at the drops of water in the universe, in our world, and when we look at the pieces of glasses, right, the small bits of glasses, we can see that, in any, glass, or even in the small bits, we can see that the sun is reflecting on it, right, with its heat, with its color, and with its light. The sun that we know is reflecting on each drop of water, as well as the entirety of it, and also each small bits and pieces of glasses. So if we don't attribute this light, heat, and color to the only sun that is up there, then we would have to accept, right, the existence of individual suns in the number of those drops of water and these pieces or bits of glasses, right? Otherwise, where this light, where this heat, where this light is, and where this color is coming from, right? So there has to be the source of light and heat and color within every drop of water, which is literally impossible, right? Which is just beyond impossibility, and which no one would ever accept. So in the same way, if you don't attribute all the creation, right, all the manifestation of power, mercy, wisdom, knowledge, and everything that we see on the face of the universe, if we don't attribute them to the only sun, right, to the eternal sun, that is the creator, that is the eternal, pre-eternal and post-eternal creator of the universe, if we don't attribute everything to him, right, everything to his power, to his knowledge, to his wisdom, to his wisdom, with knowledge, power, will, etc., then we would have to accept gods, literally gods, in the name of beings, in the name of atoms, in the name of every being in the universe. So this is how Beli said in the first impossibility, is just clearly, explaining in a convincing manner that it cannot be the nature itself, and there has to be a God and only one God that has the attributes that is enough and necessary to create and rule and run and control everything in this universe.
Thank you very much for that, Brother Yusuf. Now, Brother Ghazi, I would like to ask you this. We see that when all existent beings are ascribed to nature, lots of difficulties show up at the degree of impossibility. So how are these difficulties eliminated when all beings are given to one creator? How do difficulties turn into ease?
Yeah, thanks very much. And I wish you a blessed Laylatul Qadr, first of all. And I hope and pray that this lesson, this lecture about belief, Iman, is also will be beneficial to the listeners and to the lecturers like us. And in the multiple of 30,000 times, inshallah. So Allah's mercy is vast, and we want from Him, we pray from Him the best, the most beneficial things for our life, for this life and for the next, inshallah. And yeah, for this, the question, yeah, the impossibility of, or the difficulty of ascribing one thing to lots of things. It's like, you know, I would like to express the same example, because Imam Nursi is giving the example of the sun as an answer to so many questions in his collection of Risale-i Nur collection. So we know that in one example he is mentioning, imagine there are lots of glasses and we see, you know, sun inside the glass. We see the shape of the sun, we see the color of the sun, as brother Yusuf mentioned. So how can these suns appear on these glasses? So there are two ways. One of them is we accept that there is one sun and it is reflecting on all these pieces of glass. This is the easy one. This is understandable. There is one sun and it can reflect and manifest on so many things, like not just glasses. For example, there are oceans, seas, and in every droplet of those huge water sources, you see lots of sun. And these suns actually are coming from the sun. So the answer is very easy. It comes from one. It comes from the sun. But so this is the easy one. How about difficulty if we don't accept the real sun? And if we think that all these reflections, manifestations are actually the real suns. So in that case, we need to accept that in every droplet of water, in every piece of glass, there must be thousands, millions, and zillions of suns inside, which can produce heat, which can give light, which has radiation. So who can accept this? Is it really possible for someone to see these reflections and say, no, they are not reflections at all. These are real signs. So which one is easier? This is the question here. Is the reflection and manifestation of suns on everywhere, which is happening in the universe all the time, all the seconds, we can see it clearly in any part of the world. Now there is a sun. For example, it is nighttime in Turkey, but it is, you know, daylight on the other side of the world. Yeah. But it is always observable on the face of Earth. This is the easiest way. But the difficult one is everyone is telling that I have a glass of water and inside there is one sun. It can produce heat, light, radiation. And on the surface of the ocean, there are zillions of suns. Who can accept this? So I would like to conclude by saying that Imam Nursi is giving this example to show that even in this world, we clearly see and accept that the sun is able to reflect on so many things, and it is easy. So Allah Azza wa Jal, in the reality, is showing His names, His beautiful names, Asma'ul Husna, on the face of earth, like His Qudra, His power, His will, His volition, His irada, and all those other names you can think of is observable everywhere. So if it is given to, if it is ascribed to Allah Azza wa Jal, it is quite easy. One can do it. But if we say everything is doing whatever the qualities they have, then it is problem, because we need to have lots of things which has the limitless power, the limitless volition. So it is impossible. So it seems a quite simple example, but Imam Nursi is using it to explain a huge matter for the human beings. The creator creates everything, and he is the one, and it is very easy for him. He says kun fayakun, he says be, and it shall be. But if the nature were accepted as God, so there must be lots of gods inside everything, because there is no one source of it. So I can summarize the second impossibility in this way, Brother Yunus.
Thank you very much, Brother Ghazi. Now, I'd like to turn it to Brother Fettah. Brother Fettah, Imam Nursi also mentions that the creation and the direction of all things becomes as easy as those of a single thing when they are given to Allah. Can you please give us another example about this?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me for such nice discussion here. And I wish and I pray to all Muslims all around the world, have a blessed day, have a blessed night tonight, inshallah. I would like to give an example. Let's imagine a man, he affiliates, he gave himself to the king as an official soldier. Due to being a soldier of the king, he will have power, right? How does he have such a power? After assigning a soldier of the king, anymore he will have more power than God, who is in the man in the street. Like ordinary people, for sure. With that power, he is able to perform 100,000 times more job than his own capabilities, his abilities. Let's think of a soldier during this coronavirus breakdown. With his uniform, he can stop anyone as he wishes. Sometimes elder people, sometimes younger people, regardless of their position or title, right? He are able to stop everyone. But when we take his uniform off and he tried to attempt to stop even a children will not listen to him. Maybe even they might make a fun with that person because he doesn't have any uniform. He's like ordinary people. So from this point, we can understand the power of affiliation, how it works in our daily life. Either all people obey to you because of your uniform, or even a children make a fun with you. And on the other hand, this soldier doesn't need to carry all the equipments and strength with his work. And also he doesn't need to carry all of them. By means of affiliation, by means of being a part of army, all the power and equipment are carried by army, which is the source of power and reference point of that single soldier. And so that in this way, this soldier may do excellent works and perform a work and activities in army. As like in history, we know that ants destroyed the pro palace on the authority of the being official of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another example, a fly killed the Nimrod throughout the same affiliation to the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a conclusion, I would like to say that ascription of each being to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has necessarily a great facility. But on the other hand, ascription of the nature causes many difficulties, as our brothers mentioned. And it is far away from the logic. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous thing. This is enough for now for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Fettah. Thank you. Now, let's talk about the natural laws, about the existence, the universe, because some ascribe the beings to the natural laws. So, Brother Yusuf, can you please explain us the position of natural laws in this universe?
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Yunus Emre. Of course, natural laws, they are a fact, and they are not denied by Muslim scholars, and Beli is also one of them. And we believe that natural laws are laid down by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are laid by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because Allah is Hakim. Allah is following, created a universe, and He's recreating it and functioning and running it in a system, right? So He put some causes, cause and effect relationship. He put some laws. So these are all the system. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid, for example, gravity, right, is a natural law. So that is, applying right to our lives and to all physical beings in the earth, on the earth. But of course, they now, and many people, they say, many naturalists, many non-believers, they also say, okay, everything is being conducted by the natural laws, right? And all the natural laws are also connected to each other. Even they were claiming that there should be one natural law that is above all the natural laws and governing all the natural laws, right? Otherwise, because all the natural laws are in a way connected to each other, right? So there should be another natural law that is governing all the natural laws. So they would come to such, arguments or such, imaginations. And of course, there is a reality. There are natural laws, and natural laws that are also acting in accordance with each other, in coordination, in synchronicity with each other. So exactly, there has to be a control, a center, of control that is actually ruling, governing, and watching over, right, all the natural laws, isn't it? So that is actually what we call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the creator of everything, and we're creating and governing them through natural laws. Allah laid down the natural laws. Allah doesn't need the natural laws, but this is how Allah wanted to run the universe. But again, all the natural laws are at the hands of one creator, right? One ruler. And also, Berizuma is giving a very nice analogy in this regard. He says, there was a great palace, okay, in a desert. Someone just built a great palace. A person is just entering into this palace. An ignorant person is just entering into this palace. And then he looks just, walks in the palace. He sees the magnificent parts of the palace, the pillars, rooms, everything is so great. He is just impressed, mesmerized by the palace. And then he starts questioning who made this palace, who produced this palace. And he doesn't give the possibility of, of the existence of the producer of this palace to be outside the palace. He doesn't think about that. He says someone inside the palace, something inside the palace should have created it, right? Must have created it. So he just goes around the palace and he doesn't find anything that really, doesn't have the power and everything, all the attributes to be able to, build the palace. But later he finds a notebook in which all the information, of the palace is written, right? All the information, how the palace was built, how many rooms does it have, how many pillars does it have, what does it have, what it doesn't have, etc. Everything is written in this notebook, right? And then he says, okay, I have found it. I have found what made this palace. This is related. This is, you know, concerned and related in, you know, in all the ways to all parts of the palace. So this notebook must have built this palace, right? So this is actually the conclusion that he comes up with. So, but of course, this is a very ignorant one, because that notebook doesn't have hands and tools, right? It doesn't walk around, it doesn't build actually. It maybe has the information about the palace, but it doesn't mean that it has built the palace, because building the palace, you know, needs power, wisdom, you know, control over them, etc. So many things. So likewise, a person, a savage person, again, an ignorant person is like entering into the universe, right? Entering into the earth. And then he's opening his eyes and he looks around, he says, wow, you know, everything is related to these natural laws, right? So I can relate all the, you know, running of in this universe, everything in this universe to those natural laws. I can ascribe them to them. So he says, okay, then these natural laws should be the creator of everything, right? So this is the conclusion that actually he comes up with. But of course, again, the natural laws, they are laid. Any laws, right? In our countries also, we have laws, but those laws are also laid down by the rulers. And they're also being changed, by the way, right? When it doesn't apply to the reality, they upgrade it. But it is such a law that it is also functioning since the inception of the universe and still saying, but it is perfect. What kind of law is this? So it had to be laid by someone who is endlessly knowledgeable, endlessly wise, endlessly powerful, and endlessly, you know, willing, right? So such a person must have laid down these laws, and that person again can only be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is endlessly powerful, wise, knowledgeable, etc. So this is how Beli gives the analogy, right, from the palace and likening the palace to our universe. So it is not the notebook, just like in the example, in the analogy, it is not the notebook that is building, but it has the information. So our natural laws has the information how everything is running, right? But it is not the powerful being that is doing it, right? It is not, because it doesn't have a physical existence also. Natural laws doesn't have a physical existence. It is just an existence of knowledge. I mean, of abstract. It's an abstract thing. You know, no one can show us gravity. Where is gravity? You know, where is, you know, other laws? We don't see it as a physical being. They're abstract beings. So an abstract being actually, you know, doesn't have the power, you know, to do something. So it is the law that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid down, and no one can ascribe the universe to those laws.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Brother Yusuf.
Welcome.
Now, if Brother Fettah can, if it's possible, I would like him to add another example about this part.
I would like to give my turn to the Brother Ghazi because I have some sound behind. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, yes, Brother Ibrahim, please give us your part about this.
Okay, thanks very much, Brother Fettah, for your generosity and kindness. Thanks very much, Brother Yusuf. Mashallah, it was a beautiful example, like a desert example was beautiful. And I want to share two other examples, which are quite parallel to your examples. Again, we are talking about Imam Nursi's actually impossibilities of nature creating the universe, right? So look at two other examples. One of them, serving in military. If you have served in military, you would know that there is one commander. He orders you something, and maybe tens or hundreds of thousands of people do the same thing at the same time. It's a beautiful scene to watch because there is a unity, right? One single sound, it says stand up, then everyone stands up. And one single sound says sit down, and everyone sits down, so on and so forth. So look at this example. Imagine a man who has no idea about military, right? No military whatsoever. He has never been to military. He has never seen anyone who served in the army. he's looking and watching this beautiful scene and saying that, oh my God, look at them. What's happening to them? There is one miraculous rope, and these soldiers are bound together. And when this rope moves, every soldier moves as well. If the rope just moves to make them sit down, they sit. If the rope moves upwards, they stand up. And he's thinking, look at that. It's a beautiful rope. You know, I can't see the rope now, but there must be a rope. So it's interesting. Imam Nursi is giving this example, and it's beautifully explaining the situation of the naturalists. They are saying, look at that. Nature is moving perfectly. The sun, the moon, the water, the green areas, everything is in perfect order. But there is a rope, miraculous rope between them. Then they move harmoniously. Well, it's not. These are, as Brother Yusuf mentioned, they are just laws. They are the laws of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah orders the universe to do that, and they do immediately. It is quite simple from this perspective. But in the example, for example, how can you believe in such kind of rope? So let's come to the reality. In the reality, how can we say this universe is perfectly functioning, everything is ordered in the most beautiful way possible, but this is not done by a creator who has the limitless knowledge, limitless power, but there are some magical laws which are doing these things. Who can believe that, really? I'm asking this question. Who can really believe that? It's almost impossible. I know our time is short, but I want to give one more example.
Yes, please.
Imam Nursi is talking about Hagia Sophia. You know, Hagia Sophia is a great mosque. And when you go inside, maybe not at the moment, but we hope, and in the future, in the near future, as it is a mosque, there should be an imam and there should be a Jama'ah congregation, right? So what happens? Imam says, Allahu Akbar, then everyone stands up. And if he says second Allahu Akbar, everyone bows down. If he says Sami Allahu liman hamid, you know the steps of the Salah, right? Imagine the same guy who entered into the army and saw everything is watching the scene in Hagia Sophia. People are praying behind an imam, and he doesn't see the imam, and he thinks, look at them. They are also bound together. When the rope moves, they are standing up, or they are bowing, or they are prostrating. So quite similarly, it is impossible for us to search for this kind of magical rope. It's impossible. But we know that Imam says one command and all the Jama'ah congregation obeys him. So this is quite similar. And I'm also telling you, inshallah, when the mosques are opened after coronavirus crisis, when we go to mosque, we should think about this. We should contemplate. Imam says Allahu Akbar, and we do some movement. Imam says Sami Allahu liman hamidah, we stand back. So this is also Allah Azza wa Jal make us practice the unity of Him every 5 prayer times in this world. These are not meaningless. Imam is doing this. Allah ordered us to pray in this way. You know the wisdom, you know the benefits of praying in the mosque behind an imam. And inshallah, after this crisis, when we go to mosque, we will contemplate. Even this jama'ah, this congregation is showing us the unity of Allah Azza wa Jal. If there were 2 imams, 3 imams, 4 imams, or if there were no imams, how can we try to look for a magical rope or any other thing which moves them like puppets? It's impossible. Subhanallah. I think these 2 beautiful examples which we can remember and reflect upon. are enough for us for this time. That's
Thank
it,
you
I
very
think.
much. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for this. So it seems we will finish here today. In our last two programs, last week and today, we discussed the epistle on nature written by Imam Bediüzzaman Said Nursi. This epistle clarifies the essence of the approach adopted by the naturalist atheists, is removed from rationality. This epistle covers four ways of explaining the existent beings and their existence. Imam Nursi proves three of these ways are impossible, invalid, and beyond the bounds of reason and possibility. And he says the fourth way, the way of the existence of one creator, is necessarily and undeniably established. We highly suggest you to get this book, The Epistle on Nature by Imam Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, and read it yourself in depth. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for joining us, Brother Yusuf from Malaysia.
Thank you very much, Brother Yunus.
Brother Ghazi from Turkey.
Thanks very much. It's my pleasure.
And Brother Fettah from the US.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching us today. We wish you a blessed Eid al-Fitr. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.